Hello, everyone. Welcome to our live stream for September 21st. On the stage, I have Tuna Man, Neo, and Ook. For this week, I didn't really have much prepared, but I wanted to maybe discuss some of the comments I had received on one of the previous live streams by this guy that goes by the handle Ed Gein. Amongst other handles. For some reason, he seems to like to use handles that are um, about serial killers. So Ed Gein is a serial killer. I didn't know about him before. Ted Bundy is another one that he uses. And I think there's been several others. But the other kind of interesting thing is that he goes by or he has a couple of handles called Aaron Blocks You and Dave Blocks. And the reason for that is, and let me just show you, this is from Aaron Massa. He kind of gave a list of some of the things that he uses. So the Aaron Blocks You and Dave Blocks You is because this guy gets blocked on different channels. He had been harassing Aaron, I guess, and he blocked him. And I guess he was also on Professor Dave's channel, and he got blocked. And I also remember him getting blocked from the Underlings channel. I don't know if any of you have been on one of those. Actually, let me just show you here. His channel is this Underlings. So he has some interesting content here, but he hasn't posted in a while. But what happened was there's a troll, not just with Ed, but also another guy named Frank Huggins. They're both creationists, or they like to call themselves intelligent design proponents. So what Underlings did was that he gave a challenge. He made $1,000 bet, not $1 million this time, but $1,000 bet for creationists. And he basically challenged them to, provide, kind of actual backing for their intelligent or creationist ideas. And of course, well, interestingly enough, this was directed at Frank Huggins, one of the trolls, but it also applied to Ed as well. But what happened was that, this guy Frank Huggins, he said, "Oh, I accept the bet," but he really, couldn't honestly provide any information. But he kept on saying that he won the bet, and so he got blocked, and also Ed got blocked as well, just because he was kind of harassing the channel. So what happened in my comments section, so this is for the let me see, for the dumb Christians think evolution's a rock from a bang, and this was a couple weeks ago. So in this, he started making comments, and he likes to just call people dum-dums, which is interesting because I have a pretty good feeling that he probably hasn't even graduated from high school. But I had previously mentioned that I had gone to Columbia University and University of Chicago, and for some reason he couldn't accept that, or he couldn't believe it. So he kept on bringing that up as, that I made this claim, and for some reason he thinks it's not correct. So here he says, I think he mentioned it, one of these, but eventually he started kind of, complaining that I was blocking him. So I've had three accounts blocked from posting here. So I haven't blocked anyone on my channel. There's no one blocked. But because the kind of things that he posts, he gets his posts get filtered. And when you get blocked, like if I went and blocked Aaron Blocks You, all these comments will go away. So if you go to this underlings channel, there's all these comments where people are responding to Frank Huggins, but none of his messages show. Oh, sorry. Yeah, if you go to the underlings channel where he did block all these accounts, so if you go through his comments, it doesn't include anything from Frank or Ed or any of those guys. So I believe that if I had actually blocked him, none of, his comments would not show up, but he somehow couldn't figure that out. So he kept on complaining, saying that I was blocking his accounts, and that's why he was using all these different alt accounts. Aaron blocks you, and Ted Bundy was another one. So he claims I've blocked him multiple times because I'm unable to debate science. And by the way, I had also challenged him to come on my channel. And of course, just like most of the other creationists or other theists, they seem to be allergic to actually talking to atheists that they claim that they are constantly beating. So that's kind of the background. And what I wanted to talk about is, kind of what these guys, what their argument is against abiogenesis. So it basically comes down to personal incredulity. Abiogenesis has not provided a single biological thing used in life in 30 years that could happen naturally. It has shown life could not start on its own instead of life starting on its own. So I want to talk a little bit about that and talk about Ed. And if any of you guys have had interactions with this guy, if you have any history with them. So we also have John Clark, who joined us a little bit late, but has any of you guys run into this Ed Gein guy?
Yes, a lot. I tend to watch a lot of the things like Gutsick Gibbon and a few of the other science-oriented channels, and he shows up there a lot under any one of those usernames, and it's the same old, essentially quotes from Stephen Meyer and his pseudoscience as a proponent of ID and creationism. His science is wonderful.
Yeah, he pretends as if he knows science.
It's I kind of realized when he kept trying to promote a particular view of protein formation that was just wrong.
Yeah.
So he basically hates me because I pointed out that he was wrong. So
anyone else?
I've run in a little bit, but
okay.
all I ever, whenever I question him about anything, I just get abuse back. So I gave up.
Oh, he hates being questioned. You criticize anything, and he goes off on an insult rant. Quite telling.
The first interaction was, what God are you, or what is the name of the intelligent designer you're putting forward? Is it a God? Is it a what? And he just gave me a paragraph of abuse. So I went, what's the point?
And by the way, I don't, and I'm not 100% sure of this, but I don't think they'll commit to a God. They're just, and a lot of times they won't even say that they're creationists. They are.
He's just, he's just saying that evolution is false. He won't commit to any religious belief or any, what we would do. He can't even, he just puts intelligent design occasionally. It had to be intelligently designed. He won't even say creator. So to me, he's just completely dishonest. No point even trying to engage him. Unless he comes on the show, that'd be good.
Has anybody noticed that one of his handles is Ed Gein, the serial killer who's the model for Norman Bates?
Yeah. So he also uses Ted Bundy. That's the other one.
Yeah. So I'm. This is another one that I'm pretty convinced he's just here to stir the pot. He's not. I know that's my theory for a lot of these guys, and honestly, their actions kind of pan it out. But this one in particular, when he's using serial killers, it's attention grabbing, and he's saying these inflammatory things, and I can't take him seriously at all.
Well, he absolutely believes he's correct. I don't think he's just playing.
Both, really, in my view. He thinks he's right, but he can't show that he's right, so he resorts to insults.
Right.
He will a lot of times bring up Mike Behe, of the what is it, the irreducible complexity idea, which is interesting because Ed Behe has basically been a great supporter of creationism, because when he's in the court in lawsuits in regard to intelligent design, it causes him to lose that lawsuit. So I can't remember what the case is, but he was the expert witness in a case about intelligent design being taught in school, and he was and it was kind of a disastrous thing for Mike Behe, because I think I'm not sure if it would be the other side, the lawyer just dropped a stack of immunology books in front of him, because he had said that there's no consensus that immunology is so complex that it couldn't have developed naturally. So just having that stack of immunology books was kind of demonstrated that he has nothing to back up what he says.
Well, do they ever?
So the first time I kind of ran across him is because he started talking about how there's scientific proof that all species were created 200,000 years ago. So I kept haranguing him to show proof of that, and eventually he started giving these quotes, and because of the quotes, I kind of figured out where it came from. It's from a phys.org site where they had a news article. This was in 2018 about evolution. So he quotes he quotes the article, and it says the study's most startling result, perhaps, is that 9 out of 10 species on Earth today, including humans, came into being 100,000 to 200,000 years ago. So he uses this to say that it looks like there was a huge creation of species around that time, all at once, and he kept on giving this quote, but he couldn't cite the actual article. So it was like about a week where I kept on saying, well, cite the article. And, before, I actually was able to look up this article relatively quickly. And, I knew what article it was, but he just couldn't cite it. He hadn't ever actually read the original research. All he's done was like read this relatively badly written science article, but he couldn't even cite it. And eventually I pushed him so much that I think he somehow figured out how to get it, and so he actually did look up the article, and he started misquoting that. So I think once he got to that article, it made him feel like, oh, he knows the science, when in fact it was clear that he doesn't know. He couldn't even understand the news article, not the news article, but the research article.
Well, keep in
And
mind they've got as their role models folks like Kent Hovind, Ray Comforts, who they're famous for their quote mining.
Yeah.
So you try to put out just enough of the paper so that you can say, see, here, it proves my thing. And I think they're trying to do a bait and switch. They're just persuasion by deception. Because if they can get people to come over to their side by any means necessary, then, well, that's one more soul saved, or one more atheist pwned, or whatever their rationality is.
well, but for Ed, I think like I said, he does feel like he knows the science, and he probably thinks he knows more than most people, more than the atheists, because he's right. So when he continually used this news article to say that he had science behind his view that creation, all the animals or all the organisms were created at about the same time, like what intelligent design would say.
I'm looking back in the file, and I've got a quote here from him on debunking biology. I'm using it to debunk evolution from a common ancestor. I'm not even sure if that sentence makes sense. Yeah, it's weird. The naturalistic model is disproven by science taught in college textbooks.
Yeah, and he can't back it up, but he, of course, does feel like he tries to kind of use science. And so this is the actual article that other news site was referring to. And, because this was actually apparently something that caused a lot of creationists and intelligent design people to use to try to make their case. So because of that, soon after this article was published, the authors actually posted a little note at the top saying that this study is grounded in and strongly supports Darwinian evolution, including the understanding that all life has evolved from a common biological origin over several billion years. So the authors actually had to put this into their publication.
Yeah.
And even when I pointed this out, this wasn't sufficient for this guy, because everything he looks at is he's just looking at it from the lens of confirmation bias. So anything that doesn't fit his ideas, he'll just disregard.
Yep, it's like with what's that, Dr. Mary Schweitzer and her apparent finding of a biological material, and she had to put out a disclaimer saying, "I didn't find any tissue. I found like remains of what would have been tissue."
Yeah, but they'll still say things like, they found soft tissue in a T-Rex fossil, and that's completely wrong. But they'll keep saying it.
Well, never let the facts get in the way of a good argument.
So when I challenged that but when I challenged him to find anything in this research article that supports what he's saying, he kept on going back to the news article and using that to say that, well, I don't need to say anything about the research article because this is a quote from the authors. So this is more legitimate than the actual news article, because he doesn't understand science, that He doesn't understand that science is not about, you know, one person's opinion of things, but it's about the data. And he kept on saying this, you know, quoting this part and saying, well, the authors admit to this, that, you know, all 9 out of 10 species on Earth today came into being 100 to 200,000 years ago. And the other author, Taylor, said, this conclusion is very surprising, and I fought against it as hard as I could. So he thought this was actually a quote from the author. So he kept on saying that this is the quote. But notice that there's no quote signs here. And this is just the article, the news person putting it as a commentary. And it's badly written because what is meant here is that that speciation occurred around that time. So according to their data, about 90% of speciation occurred around that time. So, you know, there would have been other species, ancestor species, but around that time, they all kind of started diverging, which the authors say, if you read the article, is say that it's evidence of kind of a population bottleneck that occurred around that time. So something like, you know, a catastrophic incident where, you know, a lot of the animals were died out for some reason, or let's say a plague or some kind of disease. So it caused a bottleneck within the population. So there's only a few population that, you know, represented the current set of population. So that's a little more complex understanding, because, you know, you sort of have to understand evolution to understand the data, etc. But it just, he couldn't register it. And I actually ended up emailing one of the author, Mark Stockel, and I actually like brought up this fact that, you know, this guy was, you know, kind of misquoting what he said. So let me share this. So I sent an email kind of talking about the situation and kind of, you know, saying, okay, this is my understanding, is this correct? And he responded. But when I told this ed guy that I had emailed the author, it was like he couldn't conceive it. It was beyond his comprehension. So he just couldn't believe it. So he kept on saying I was lying, that I emailed the author, and the author responded back. And this is the response, response from the author. So, I mean, what's one thing to note is that it's, you know, that and if you run across research, you can definitely reach out to the authors, and, you know, you can definitely, you know, though most of the time, I think they would respond to you, and like if you get research that you can't access for some reason, you can just email the authors, and they'll send you a copy of that research. So definitely, it's not, you know, unusual that you can communicate with the authors, but, you know, guys like these, you know, to them, you know, he thought I couldn't possibly be telling the truth. It's this whole personal incredulity.
I just asked that strange Scottish guy, Paul, whatever his name is, if he wants to, that the show's on now, come over and have a chat. And I also asked, extended an invitation to Thunderbolt. Yes, if he wanted to come and join the chat. So I'm in there trolling. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I thought a couple of the other guys would show up here, but because I think Diva was saying that, you know, he he liked the discussion we had. I think it was Steva, right?
Yeah.
We had last time. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he thought he might show up again, but I'm not sure if he's going to.
Steva's full of hot air.
I'd be very interested in talking to Thunderbolt, because honestly, why does he have to share his non-sexual adventures with everyone? That's just creepy. He's the
Yeah,
32
and also he got upset because we kept on bringing it up.
Yeah. He also got slightly upset at me when I told him stop being such a cheap ass and go and hire a professional.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you do. If you're whinging about not getting a leg over, go and do something about it. Support your local sex worker. Yeah. Who knows what they do?
Yeah, but
He's a
I mean,
strange one.
yeah, and I've told him that, you know, if he really wants people to hear about his personal life and his issues with, you know, losing his virginity, I think there are probably channels, YouTube channels, that he can comment on where, you know, it'll be more appropriate.
Isn't there a thing called a video blog or whatever that you can post to your YouTube? I'm so unhip. It's all under my legs stay on. Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. Oh, I got to do something I learnt today, which I could not believe. You all know about the, or everyone's aware of the Great Emu War that Australia had.
So can you say a little bit about that? Because I keep hearing that and I forget to look it up, but is that real or is that just...
Oh, you're going to love this. You're going to love this. This is brilliant.
Okay.
It is real. 1932, after the First World War, plague proportions of emus were in Western Australia. So they sent out a division of army guys armed with, 303 rifles and Maxim guns, and they tried to kill them, which it's really... Emus are so fast, even though they're big, a kill shot is almost impossible. So they just wasted a whole heap of ammunition and got lampooned in all the newspapers of the day. So it's true. The emus won a war.
Well, it wasn't a war.
Well, they called it a war. Yeah. But there's a movie that's just come out. It's called The Emu War, and it's a short film. And if you just type in The Emu War movie and just watch the trailer, it is fucking hilarious. It really is. The next thing I found out about today was there's an Australian comedy horror movie, it's a short one again, about a killer kangaroo. It was made in 2014, and it's...
I love that. Yeah, I've seen that. It's excellent.
It's called Rippy, a play on Skippy, and it is hilarious again. It actually won a short film award in Australia, but if you just look up Rippy zombie kangaroo, it's a...
Wait, let's start with the Emu War trailer. Hold on.
That's it.
I've seen war. I see war. An evil lurks in these lands.
I'm scared, Mama.
I need a team to go deep into enemy territory. It's going to be a real cold one tonight, so we're all going to have to kiss for warm. You remind me quite a lot of my son, Private. Is this warming you up?
A little, I guess.
So this doesn't seem like they're serious.
No, it's a piss take, and it's Americans always seem to have a problem with emu. It's E and moo, like a cow. Moo.
Emu.
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 M-E-W. Try it again, Kissy. You there? Hello?
Oh.
Yep. Sorry, I had to cough.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, it's like E-M-E-W. That's how you say it. Emu.
I mean, I think most people pronounce it okay. I haven't run across people not being able to pronounce that. Emu, right? Or emu?
Got it. No, the first one.
It should be emu.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So maybe I guess we are mispronouncing it.
The trick with all Australian words, and if you want to do a really good Australian accent, is you just run all your words together. Like, how much is it? Means how much is it? And if you want to get a great Aussie accent, and it works 100% of the time, block one nostril and then speak.
Oh, jeez.
Okay.
It does. It'll give you an Aussie accent. Ask Blarg. He's just turned up. Are you on, Blarg?
So,
Not yet.
Yeah, I'm just saying, don't bring me into this.
the emus are trying to emulate us.
Yes.
Emulate us.
Nice.
But yeah,
And here's the Rippy
Rippy?
one.
What did you say?
This is really bad.
Evil. A beast. It takes all forms. It'll change you when you see it.
Have you ever seen anything like this?
Whatever did this is bloody strong. Tore them apart like nothing. It looks like a bite wound.
Maybe it's a croc or a pack of dingoes.
There were tracks.
What tracks?
What is that?
The sister.
Oh, wait, hold on. So that's the monster. Oh my gosh.
That being said, did you see the big male red kangaroo that was it died, was it last year? The really famous one that really just looked like it took steroids. They are ridiculous.
Oh,
They,
yeah. Another thing I found out about today is the guy who runs that Kentucky Reptile Zoo over there.
Oh, reptile zoo?
Yeah, Kentucky Reptile Zoo. He free handles venomous snakes. Now, one, that's something you never do. You always use a hook. And you can tail most venomous snakes. That's grab them by the tail. He actually somehow got hold of an inland taipan. Not sure of the legalities of that because we keep a very strict control on our wildlife in Australia. But he tried to free handle the most venomous snake in the world. and of course got bit. He was on YouTube and Facebook right after he got bitten, trying to find out where the closest anti-venin was, which is another no-no in if you handle hot snakes, venomous snakes, you know where the closest anti-venin is, or you keep your own supply. And yeah, he's just alive, but I couldn't believe it. I mean, how to win a Darwin Award? Yeah, I'm going to pick up and play with the most venomous terrestrial snake in the world. And I don't know, then go on Facebook to find out where I can get anti-venin. I mean, it's ridiculous.
That's that's poor planning on your part.
Yeah, that is, as far as I'm concerned, that's just, he should be on a Darwin Award. It's by pure fluke that I think it was only 2 hours on a plane before they got anti-venin into him. And I mean,
Lucky survive.
he's just, that's incredible luck. And I also think he's going to be feeling the effects of that for the rest of his life. I mean, I know the hits I've taken from Australian snakes have caused permanent damage to me. And it's crazy what people do. That was my thing.
Actually, did you see just recently a guy in Colorado proved that Gila monsters do have enough venom to kill a human, an adult human,
Oh boy.
Yeah.
for the first time illegally owned, apparently.
Yeah.
They're not legal in the state.
They there's an uproar in the reptile community in America because all his snakes were kept incorrectly, and they were all euthanized. A venomous snake is not something you can let go, especially if it's a feral snake. It doesn't belong. You know, it's an exotic. Yeah, and if there's no zoos to take them, they have to be euthanized. It's just a sad fact of life. But,
have you seen Clint's Reptile Room? He has a channel on YouTube.
yeah,
He's in Utah.
I follow him very closely.
Yeah, he's really good.
Yeah.
Oh, hi there.
But yeah, it's. I mean, I've taken 2 wet bites from a death adder and 1 dry bite, and they were my 2 outer body experiences. Were after I got envenomated from a death adder, and it was the greatest trip I've ever went on. No pain, no nothing, floating above the ambulance. I could see what they were all doing. It was just, yeah. And the dry bite was, I went over my herpetologist who worked at James Cook University, place. I came back from the mine and I said, "Oh, how are you? Good, right? Yeah. How's the hunt?" Because he was actually James Cook Uni was trying to work out whether the inland taipan was its own species or whether it was just a taipan. It was in the early days of them trying to work out what it was. How's the research going? Great. Can I have a beer? Yep. I go over to the beer fridge, not looking, open it, put my hand in, and all of a sudden I get a scream from across the hallway. "No, watch it. Gloria's in there." Gloria just happened to be the death adder that he'd been trying to milk. And if they're a bit feisty, you stick them in the fridge for 5 minutes, and it calms them down. And I was just quick enough to pull my hand out of the fridge, and she raked a fang along the thumb. But I didn't end up with any venom. But just 2 bites from a death adder, I can't take. I've become allergic to the antivenin of the death adder. So if I take another bite from that, there's probably an 80% chance I'm going to cark it. You just don't fuck around and find out with snakes. It's just something you don't do. That's my little rant. Anyone else got interesting and funny things they found out this week?
Have you guys seen that one video of that man punching the kangaroo?
Oh,
Wait,
yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Oh, you've never seen it?
No.
Here, I
The one
have it queued up.
the kangaroo had his dog.
Yep.
Yeah. Also look for Roger,
So,
the red kangaroo.
That's it.
Get a photo of him.
here, let me play.
The big buck actually has hold of the dog, not the other way around. As Greg runs in, we realise this could get dangerous.
Let it go, dogs. Let's go.
What?
Now the dog's coming.
Well, we're not.
Wait, so is this real? It isn't staged, right?
No, that's real. Roos will lure dogs because they're used to dingoes, so they will lure a predator into water where they can actually drown them. It's part of their defense mechanism. And also there's different subspecies of kangaroos, and that looked like a grey kangaroo, which is the second largest species, and the red kangaroo is the largest, and it's also the most aggressive. I've seen a roo disembowel a dog like just with one foot, one kick. I've also seen them kick straight through it and knock over a 44-gallon drum that's full of diesel. So they got some power in there. Was it Roger Blag, the big red that looked like it had been steroid?
Yeah, Roger. That's the one. I didn't get a photo of Roger. It just looks ridiculous. It looks made up.
They can big reds can reach 7 foot. They're amazing animals.
But you know in that video, the way that the guy like puts up his fist, like he was actually like, in a boxing match, it just made it seem so unreal.
Yeah, but if you want to survive a roo attack, 1, get behind a tree, and 2, drop to the ground, because if you stand up, they take that as a challenge, as a domination, and roos start fighting for domination from the moment they get out of their pouch. You'll always see baby roos like kicking each other or grappling with each other. Even there was a case of a guy got his jugular ripped out by their front paws. They mightn't look strong, but they are, and there's also about a 4 or 5 inch bloody claws on them. So yeah, they'll mess you up.
So Crystal says only 2 people killed by roos since 1932.
Yeah, because when you're out there, most of us know the rules. Don't fuck with them. And
is there anything in Australia that won't try to kill us?
Well, not many.
Huntsman. The huntsman.
I thought that was poisonous.
Yeah, but they don't try and kill you.
It's no worse than a bee sting. Huntsman.
But when they're attacking you, they are trying to kill you, though.
No, they don't really attack. they just sort of, they don't really attack.
No, they scamper away.
They run, they come towards you and run away and scamper. Yeah, it's just because they're big. I never had any phobias about any Australian animal till we had a Troppo day on the mine site all weekend, which means basically I can't stand work anymore in this tropical environment. I'm going to go crazy if I don't go away for 2 days. You jump in the Land Rover and go fish or whatever, shoot some wild goats or buffalo or whatever. And I was sleeping in a hammock, and I had the Australian tarantula, the bird-eating spider. I woke up because everyone around the campfire was giggling, and I woke up, and this spider had bowed the mosquito net down, so it was resting on my face. And of course, all the guys around the camp were just laughing their guts out, and I'm there trying to get the fucking thing off me before and it took me about 9-10 years before I got over that phobia. There's something ick about having a really large, heavy spider sitting on your face that covers your face. And even though I know they're about, their bite is like a wasp sting to a human, but they will kill any mammal, especially cat or dog, within about 10 minutes. So it's, most things can hurt you in Australia, but basically make noise and leave them alone. Oh, the other reason why I slept always off the ground into Northern Territory is crocs do travel. They will attack on land. So it's better to be up a little bit. But yeah, that's me.
Australia did once go to war with emus.
I mentioned that.
We talked about that.
Yeah, they watched
the Great Emu War
clip.
Yeah, we didn't win
from the movie,
which is the irony.
Well, no one wins in a war.
Yeah, but the emus, were still there once we were done with wasting all the bullets trying to kill them.
There's a movie out now, blog, about it's a piss take of the Emu War.
We showed a trailer. You missed it, I guess.
It's just called the Emu War, and type in Emu War movie and you'll get it. It's fucking hilarious.
So, by the way, so do they teach this, or what do they teach in school about this?
Don't play with the wildlife.
But does it actually get brought up in school, in history?
It used to.
Oh, what, the Emu War? No.
Yeah.
Oh, the Emu War. I learnt it at school. But I think that was just because the Morris brothers were trying to reinforce don't muck around, don't play with Australian animals. I mean, I had to get called, I think in grade 9, to come and get a brown snake, a common brown, out of one of the, I think it was either the it was the staff room toilets, because they knew I handled snakes, and they called me in, and I went, well, I haven't even got a hook, so there's nothing I can do. And one of the teachers ran out and gave me a golf club. And I was able to get it out without it hurting anyone, and popped it in a bag and let it go on the way home. Just put it in my school bag, rode halfway home where I crossed a creek and let it out there. We've got crocs, but they only really bother you. They're getting Queensland, Northern Territory. You have to watch out for crocs. We've got the cassowaries, the most dangerous bird in the world. Even our magpies will take your eye out if you're not careful. That's why everyone who rides a bike in Australia has sort of like spines sticking out their helmets to discourage magpies from attacking you. And even a possum will open you up. I think the most I saw a possum give it 30 stitches to one guy's hand because he was trying to feed it, and it decided that it really liked I think it was apple with peanut butter on it, so it just grabbed his hand. Lots of things will hurt you, but if you know what you're doing and just basically leave them alone, they'll leave you alone.
What's important to know is that most Australians do make it to adulthood, so it can't be too bad.
And we have the best anti-venin in the world.
We don't have bears either, so that's nice.
Or cats, big cats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about the man versus bear question?
No. The worst thing a koala will get you is chlamydia.
So if that happens, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah. If they wee on you, most koalas in Australia do have a form of chlamydia, and it makes them go blind. So there's a reserve and special hospital for koalas with chlamydia, and if they wee and you get it in your eye, enjoy, you've got chlamydia. So yeah.
So I've got that to look forward to my next trip down under.
Wear sunglasses. And only handle the koalas that the rangers, if you go to a zoo or whatever, only handle them. Don't go trying to handle them. Yeah. It's just you leave things alone. And if you see a sign that says, "Don't swim in the water, marine stingers," stay the hell out. Because those things, there's two of them, two species. One will leave you with scarring, like you've been hit with a red hot barbed wire, like you've received 20 or 30 lashes for that. And the other one will cause agonizing pain that no amount of morphine or painkiller can make better. And honestly, it's killed quite a few people. But if you get to hospital fast enough, they can keep you alive.
The funny one, the first one of those two jellyfish is actually, it's about the size of a thumbnail. It's so ludicrously tiny. It's this little tiny jellyfish called an irukandji. And it has one of the best stories I've ever come across, because there used to be a thing called irukandji syndrome that no one knew what caused it. People would go swimming, and then there'd be all these symptoms they would have. They didn't detect that anything had happened. They'd come up and they'd be having difficulty breathing, and they'd be having these things. And the one which I love the most is a feeling of impending doom is one of the symptoms of irukandji. It's like, honestly, that is genuinely true. People have a feeling of impending doom. So, so there was
100% guarantee that that is true. I had Irukandji syndrome twice. It's not nice.
Yeah, and the way it was discovered is this guy had a theory that it was caused by these tiny little jellyfish. So him, a mate, and his son, it got on a beach. He went and caught a couple of these things and stung each of them with it. And a few minutes later, they came down with Irukandji syndrome, thus proving it. You go, well, that's not exactly what you could call
with a small sting.
Proper science.
With a small sting, you've got about 30 minutes to get to a hospital before it hits. It'll just be like a tingling, numbing sensation. Then oh my God, something's wrong. Panic. But yeah, you've got about 30 minutes to get there. And they do actively hunt. So even though they don't have a brain, they will actively hunt. It's been proven, which is pretty amazing for a creature that, the size of your thumbnail and no brain will actually hunt and pursue prey. So yeah, stay out of the water and basically check your boots.
So don't trust the water. Don't trust your boots. What else in Australia shouldn't we trust?
If you go to get into your car, it's always a good idea to thump and really hard your sun visor, because huntsman spiders have a habit of getting into cars, and they like to hide underneath the sun visor. Now, they won't hurt you, but if you have a spider the size of a teacup saucer drop on your lap while you're driving, the results can not be good. That's why most Australian houses has fly screens. It's not only to keep the insects out, it's to keep the snakes out and all other creepy, crawly, nasty shit. Who said I'm held together with sticky tape and... Well, yes, I am. I did. Oh, the other thing is, if you hear a grunting pig noise and you're camping in Australia, get in your car, because our wild pigs are vicious bastards. Yeah, they're pretty big and they're pretty nasty. But most of that's in the top end, where Blarg lives and where I used to. Not too much dangerous animals.
They're fine. Look, honestly, I've done a bit of cross country hiking out and about, and you see far fewer snakes than are around. I saw what was the name? The English guy who has the TV show Deadly 60 fellow. What was his name? Anyone? Anyhow,
was
he was in Australia.
Steve? Was he one of the Steves?
Steve Bracknell.
I think that's right. That sounds right.
He tried the gimpy tree and regretted it.
They're fun. But he was also in Perth, walking along a footpath, a jogging footpath in a park, and there's some long grass just beside him. And like every couple of steps, there was another tiger snake there. No one notices it. You just need to be a person who knows what you're looking for, and you're actively looking for them. And like honestly, every few steps he took, there was a tiger snake. But nobody ever sees them. They're all around us, but they're actually definitely more afraid of us than we are of them. So it is pretty damn rare that you get bitten by accident. They want to run. They don't come looking for us.
Yeah, I've seen more snakes in urban areas than I have in all the years I've spent out bush. Yeah, the Australian cities are infested with venomous and non-venomous. For example, Queensland, the capital of Queensland, Brisbane, it's estimated that at least 60 or more % of every house in Brisbane has a python living in the ceiling. Yeah, and they won't really mess you up apart from giving you some really nice lacerations. But the gimpy tree, we also have the world's most painful tree or deadly tree. The guy Blarg was talking about decided to test it by taking a leaf and just putting it on his hand. He threw up and was vomiting within 30 seconds. So, yeah, a lot of Australia will hurt you, but usually there's signs telling you.
The funny thing is, I grew up playing in countryside that has them everywhere. You know, I lived near the rainforest in far north Queensland, and they're everywhere. And I've never once been stung because I wasn't stupid enough to walk around and just run into the things, pay attention to what you're doing. And there's friggin' wait a whiles are not pleasant either. So you're looking for those. They're not venomous or poisonous. They're just a what do you call it? A palm tree that has long dangling sort of tendrils that hang off of it with giant barbs on it that just hang across the walkway. And as you're walking along it, you get caught by this string of teeth. They use them to climb trees, so they're a climbing type of liana sort of thing. So, but yes, they're very unpleasant. I have been hooked by them a couple of times.
Yeah, they're right. I got hooked. Took me at the Cooper, my hat off with one of those, and of course I went to grab for it, and opened up my palm. But that was my first introduction to those things. I did, and no one, the fellas with me, laughed. Oh, you shouldn't touch plants. You know that. It looked like a bloody. Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. That's also the sick, strange Australian humour with. They'll sit back and laugh at you, but there's usually someone around who knows how to treat it. It's like we've got stonefish that are both fresh and water varieties. And if you step on that, there's no medical help, but all you have to do is basically get the hottest water you can stand, put the foot in it, and it dissolves the venom.
My other half actually, I was fishing and done a bit of cast netting beforehand to try and get a bit of bait, and then did a bit of fishing, and anyhow it was time to go. So she's gathered up the cast net, and she's like, that hurt, and I assumed there was a little fish hook or something that had nabbed it because it's a pretty popular little fishing spot, and so I open up the cast net to have a look, and there's a stonefish in there that is literally 1 inch long. That's been trapped in the cast net for about the last 3 hours out of the water, still alive, which is quite a neat trick. But yeah, it's a 1 inch long stonefish. Got her right in that little meaty bit between the thumb and forefinger.
Ouch!
And yeah, it was just the one time. So we spent the next 3 hours sitting in the hospital with her hand in a bucket of hot water that just kept getting refreshed all the time, as hot as she could stand it, until eventually, when she took it out of the heat, the pain didn't ramp up to 11 immediately. You go, okay, well, that's apparently the end point of it. But the hand was all puffed up, as one of my good mates said when he looked at the photo of it. He goes, "Oh, that'll puff the wrinkles right out."
I had a mate who worked for the fitter and turner who worked making scientific instrument cases for the Australian Marine Institute. and I managed to go out on their boat, and they were collecting specimens of the box jellyfish, which is the one that will leave you with scars like you've been whipped with red hot barbed wire. And
if you survive.
If you survive. And if you've got calloused hands and everything, and you're careful, you can pick them up, because they're quite large. You can pick them up by the bell and not get stung. And he was showing me how to do this, and I went, yeah, fine. No, I'll use the gloves, thanks very much. And he went, righto, beer time. Oh, now I've got to go for a piss. And we hear a scream coming from the toilet. He got to wash his hands.
Oh, no.
A little tentacle, a little bit of tentacle. And the things with jellyfish is when their tentacles break, they can still sting you. I was trying to search for the technical term, but for the needles they shoot out. That's gone. So that was probably the worst. Yeah, no one got a look at it, and the nurses at the local hospital refused to take pictures for us. So that was a good one. So some things in Australia, there's lots of deadly things that just don't, if you don't fuck with them, you're generally all right. Around the inland Australia, there's really nothing much you have to worry about. Most of the dingoes aren't really dingoes anymore on the Australian mainland. They're all inbred with wild dogs, so they're not really a danger.
Actually, weirdly, got a correction on that. Apparently, that is completely wrong. That is so far wrong. The researchers couldn't believe the results they were getting either. But there is almost no common dog DNA in dingoes. It's almost non-existent. No matter where they looked. And it was, because they wanted to just sort of see how bad the situation was. So they got caught wild dogs and dingo and took DNA samples right across Australia. That a whole heap of them. And it was almost non-existent. Finding was a Canis familiaris DNA in a dingo. It's actually one of the rationales for the push to actually make a dingo into its own species, because that demonstrates that while they can breed, they just don't.
They won't.
So that was a real surprise, because everyone thought what you said.
I must have shot a couple of hundred of them when I was in the Northern Territory. What I considered, and what the National Park rangers and everything said, considered crossbreeds. But of course, that was before they had DNA testing. So that makes me feel a bit uncomfortable. That's really rather interesting.
There was a pile of stuff they found with them. Like, apparently they also have anatomical differences to regular dogs. And remembering they're only a few, so they only come into Australia, I think, about 6,500 years ago. So they're relatively new additions to. It's relatively recent that they separated from the other dogs.
From the New Guinea singing dog.
Yeah, well, their hips can flex so they can stretch their back legs out much straighter than a regular dog can. So they have much more hip flexibility than a regular dog has, and they've got much more neck flexibility, so they can actually turn their head completely around and look 180 degrees up into the sky, which is a trick a normal dog can't manage. And so they're like saying, well, they've got anatomical differences in at least two different places, and they don't tend to breed. Like, what more is needed to demonstrate that they're actually a different species? So, yeah, it was a real surprise.
That is really rather amazing, and as I said, a little bit of a worry because I made money from shooting the buggers.
Blarg, where's that research from?
I'll have to look it up for you. I'll get back to you.
Was it recent?
Yeah, like within the last 12
Okay.
months I saw it.
Okay.
So that is really interesting. Also, it just goes to show you that anyone who believes in a young Earth, Australia is just the perfect example of science that proves it completely wrong. Our rock formations, our rock art, our fauna. It's like the bohab tree is only found on 2 continents, Africa.
Yeah, but
and Australia.
isn't Ray Comfort from that area?
Yeah, but we try not to. We managed to get rid of him, and there's a no return policy on that. So
no takebacks.
Yeah, and it's the same for Ken Ham. The Kiwis have the same no non-return policy on him.
So he couldn't. These guys couldn't learn from looking at the trees in Australia that creationism is wrong.
No, it's. I mean,
nah, man. If you look at the trees,
yeah,
that's how you know, man.
It's amazing that Australia also has the oldest fossils in the world. Yeah, it's even the Australian Aboriginals, oldest living continuous culture. And that's proved by DNA, which, of course, the young Earth creationists like to tell, it's that DNA proves God. Well, if DNA proves that the Australian Aboriginals got here between 50 and 60,000 years ago, how did that happen? It's, yeah, I don't try and debate young Earth creationists using the Bible. You just use scientific facts, and Australia is probably the best example. It's the same way I don't try and debate pro-lifers or forced birthers using the Bible. You use medical facts and social facts. Quantity. They want quantity over quality in regards to how many kids, whereas you should be after quality of life. And if someone who is low-end income, not married, and is forced to have a child, that child is pretty much going to be struggling all its life. Whereas if that person has access to Planned Parenting or parenthood, the quality of life, they can have a child later on when they're more mature and able to supply a stable environment for the child to grow up in. So it's sort of like, a combination of Blarg's evidence and point that he pointed out on the last video, and also the quality of life, not only for the child or baby, but for the mother. Because, yeah, if you use those two in conjunction, you pretty much can blow any forced birther out of the water. Body autonomy, yeah, comes into it a little bit, but as Blard elegantly said on the last one, it's a weak argument to come in on, especially if you're trying to convince the biblically forced birthers. That was my thing. Comments? Questions?
So there's the paper.
Yeah.
So they sampled, I think, 400 dingoes and wild dogs. So that's a pretty decent DNA sample. Found exactly 0 50-50 crosses out of the 400. Yeah. And yeah, you're right, Crystal. I was gobsmacked as well because I believed exactly what Ook was saying. That was common knowledge. Everyone knew that they were just all crossbreds and the likes, and the only pure dingoes are those annoying fuckers over on Fraser Island. They keep attacking people.
Yeah,
but
well, that's the annoying arseholes who go to Fraser Island.
Yeah, well, I've been over there too, and they're a problem. Those dingoes. They do. If you go outside, the sort of campgrounds that are fenced, they definitely come and harass you.
Well, it's why I believe the Lindy Chamberlain was innocent. The dingo ate my baby, because I had camped at Uluru less than 12 months before that incident happened, and I had to chase 3 bloody dingoes out of my tent. They'd ripped the fly screen, and having interaction with them in the Northern Territory, they are, they're the top terrestrial predator in Australia, and there's a reason for that. They're bloody smart and cunning.
I was just looking at Miranda's comment about cockroaches. Australia also has giant burrowing cockroaches that actually make quite good pets. They get about 3 inches, 4 inches long, quite sizable for a cockroach. They can't fly, and they like to sort of burrow down into sandy soil. So really sandy soil, you keep that, and they eucalyptus leaves. So they're super easy to feed. I bought, we got a couple of them for some nephews for a Christmas present many years ago when they were little. They're terrifically interesting little critters. And they're not poisonous, and they won't bite you.
I know the ones you're talking about. I think.
Yeah, you see them. They love to live in the burrow in amongst the roots of cypress pines, but they eat eucalyptus leaves as almost their primary diet.
I think a few of the scouts that I used to lead, I was a leader for, found some and took them off to James Cook, and they said they were a native species, and they looked after them or kept them as pets for about 2-3 years. They're quite long-lived as far as I can remember.
Yes, unfortunately, these ones didn't last very long because the little pricks forgot to feed them.
Oh,
that'll do it.
No, the feral cat, the dingoes don't keep the feral cats down, Neil. They're they're all, there's horrible damage. But I'm trying to think of another scary Australian animal that looks bad. No, I can't Well, I suppose our pythons look scary because they can get quite large. I think the largest one I had to wrangle was, and this is going back into feet, I think it was about 18 feet long and about as thick as a man's forearm.
Yeah, it'd be right. The amethystine is the longest snake on the planet. It's not the heaviest. That is definitely the green anaconda. Comes in way heavier than those do. But yeah, they get long enough to go all the way across a road and have their head in one end and tail out the other.
I ran over one like that, unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah, my other half did as well.
Yeah. The funny story about the Australian water python, which is a beautiful snake. I had one, it's about 5 foot. I was looking after it because I wanted to take it to school and show it off, getting an A in science. And after I got the A, I brought it home and I was just feeding it, and it mistook the rat. It mistook my hand for the rat, and then constricted around my arm. And every time I went to get it off, it just chewed in harder. So I called my herpetologist mate at James Cook Uni and said, "What do I do?" And he said, "Open the freezer, stick your arm in there, and hopefully within half an hour you should be able to wind it off." And 20 minutes. But you do look rather stupid with your arm in the freezer when your mum comes in and goes, "What are you doing?" Trying to freeze the snake off with, all interesting, fun games. What's another one that won't hurt you?
You see the recent discovery about brown tree snakes, and they have so they're an Australian species which are invasive in Guam, and they're an absolute bloody disaster in Guam. They're also common in Papua New Guinea as well, so they may have come from there rather than Australia. But yeah, brown tree snakes have a way of climbing trees that they've never seen before in another snake. So they wrap around the tree and then they tie a knot in their tail, and then they can shimmy up a perfectly smooth pole, like a power pole, to the basically no way to stop them climbing a regular straight tree. You can put a cone-shaped thing to stop them being able to climb, but yeah, no one had ever seen a snake tie a knot in its tail to hold on to itself, and then it shimmies up. It's really slow, but it does mean that they can get up to places that no other snake's able to get to, which is neat.
They're quite amazing to see when you see one climb. The other one is most people would have heard of the Australian redback spider. It's our version of the black widow, only a little more venomous. There are colonies of that throughout Japan, and you would think in Tokyo and 3 other cities that actually get snow, and most Australian animals die in the snow. But the redbacks that came over in shipping containers have adapted so that they can handle the cold. So, yeah, you don't want the moral is you don't want Australian wildlife to become feral in whatever country you live in, because it's going to fuck you up eventually. I mean, can you imagine if just the normal taipan, which is the second most venomous terrestrial snake in the world, became a feral nuisance in Florida? You had, like the Burmese pythons have, in the articulated python, the African one, you'd have people dropping dead all over Florida. Yeah, Australian animals are all weird. I mean, who looks at a platypus and thinks, oh, that thing could really, really hurt me, until it's too late. Have we gone off completely? No one's signed up.
No, this is all just really fascinating.
Yeah, it's I just find it
There's
strange.
There's a channel.
Troll or anyone has
Put up with a free hit.
that. Wesley, has he been banned for good?
I don't think he's banned. I
Kicked
blocked
him out of the channel. Yeah.
in the live chats. He's not blocked on the channel.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm not even sure. I don't think I even blocked him on the live chats. I think I just, or I'm not sure. I thought I put him in a slow mode, but
time out or something.
Not doing
I looked for a profile, and the first one that came up was some piano guy. But
yeah, that is him.
That's him.
Yeah.
The has all the concertos and wow, I didn't think someone like that would be a complete nutcase.
Yeah, and I mean, I was looking at some of the videos he had, and you can kind of figure out, where he is, and you can kind of figure out who he is. So he should be more careful. But yeah, he does seem a little bit out of it.
Yeah, that's a trick. The rule of thumb with Australia is the further north you go, the more the animals will fuck you up. It's weird, but it does hold true. As you go north, the spider species become more toxic to humans, more venomous to humans. Snakes tend to become a little more aggressive than their southern relatives.
Well, when you say north, you mean closer to the equator. I think it's true in the northern hemisphere as well. If you go towards the equator, as it gets warmer, animals tend to be more dangerous.
Look, I don't know. You guys have got bears, see, and that goes in the opposite direction because fucking polar bears, just like they're one of the few critters, like polar bears and crocodiles, one of the few critters that look at a human and go, they look delicious.
I mean, I'd rather square off against a snake than a bloody cougar. There's virtually nothing in Australia that you need a firearm for, unless it's introduced, or you're being bloody stupid and crop comes at you.
But that was proven by the Emu War.
Yes.
Firearms don't work.
A stout stick is about all you really need, and a big knife. That's
not a knife. This is a knife.
So the one slightly bigger to put down animals that roos are the most suicidal animal on the planet. They're like Americans' equivalent of deer. They just run into cars or hop into cars for no reason. Any wild animal you hit, you should go and check that nothing's in their pouch, and put it out of its misery. If you're squeamish, find someone who's got a sharp knife. But yeah, all the stuff that you'd need a gun for is pretty much in the Northern Territory. Crocodiles, water buffalo. Camels can be a right. They're not dangerous unless you hit them, which is quite easy to do. But they are bloody annoying if they get into your camp, because they're an animal that really doesn't have a brain either. Pigs are all over Australia, but yeah, we don't really need guns for protection in Australia. It's more for sporting and taking out feral animals. Oh, another strange, weird one. Australia has more wild camels than any other continent in the world.
I think more camels.
And we genuinely export them to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, more camels than
That's not even we're not even making that up. That we genuinely export them as racing camels to Saudi Arabia.
That is wild.
Oh, the pure bloodline.
Because they when they were running the overland telegraph through Australia, the horses couldn't do it. Motor vehicles couldn't do it. So they imported a lot of camels and Afghans to travel around the inland of Australia, and they got loose, and so they do. And yeah, we've got not only the we do have more camels, wild or not, than any other country in the world. So it's sort of
Weird factoid about camels and cats. Both of them are capable of drinking ocean water and not being killed by it. Getting some hydration from it, which seems like a weird thing since neither of them come from near the ocean or wouldn't ever consider drinking ocean water to stay alive. But both of them are desert animals that evolved to be able to concentrate urine far more than pretty much any other mammals can. So as a result, they can concentrate salt in their urine to a higher percentage than seawater, which means that they can actually consume seawater and not be dehydrated by it.
Miranda, I'll post a link in the comments, not now, but once the show's over, about a funny song about the drop there. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, so we had a pretty good talk about Australia and different animals there. So
we went over the board.
If no one turns up next week, I'd like some input. Like, can someone explain the American system of policing and sort of laws? Because I'm a bit at sea on trying to understand that.
But that's kind of a broad topic. What are you interested in?
Why there's so many different branches and how the laws work, like with stop and search or random breath testing or drug testing, that sort of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. And
maybe if you can put some specifics in the comments, Luke, then I think, John, you probably would have a lot to say about that. So
one or two things.
Jason Cass said he comes from a law enforcement family, so
cool, Jason. Sorry, I didn't even
things
see
to add.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, I certainly have my opinions about the United States and its policing practices, but in terms of some of the objective facts and sort of the history of it, it's actually kind of interesting, and it's really quite fascinating. Because for a start, we have national laws, so there's federal laws, but then there's also each state gets to determine its own rules and regulations, and so you can have something, or you can have police practices that make sense in New York, but then don't get applied in Alabama at all, or Georgia.
One of the things that I did a motorcycle trip from New York down the east coast, down the east coast, and we got a mate and I got into huge trouble because I didn't know they all had different police uniforms, and this guy came
Well,
out.
let's save it.
Let's pick that up next week.
Yeah,
and
Good show,
maybe
everyone.
Jason can join us on the stage as well. It's up to him. He's definitely welcome to do so. But if nothing else, we'll have that discussion. I think that'll be interesting, and it'll be kind of in line with what we had previously discussed about the prison system, I think, with Diva. But thank you, everyone, for joining. And again, thanks, everyone, for in the comments for sticking with us. So we will see you next week, and I will see you in the comments.